call, see you on TV. Sunset shit done changed. Ever since we was on, I dreamed it all. Ever since I was young, they said I won't be nothing. Now they always say congratulations. Worked so hard, forgot how to vacation.
Welcome back to the Coliseum of Fantasy Knowledge. This is the IDP Fantasy Empire. Finally getting back on the airwaves. Been taking some time getting the combine all done together. And now free agency starts tomorrow, actually in just a matter of hours now. But
it's practically over.
Yeah, they pretty much, since they stopped doing the illegal tampering, they made it a legal tamper day. You get a lot of news broken today. But hey, nothing's official until those contracts are signed, so you never know.
You think anybody will renege on any of those?
I don't know, man. I mean, I have my own fanspulation, but I don't want to just
Has that ever
make
happened?
up theories. I'm sure there's guys, because a lot of those guys leverage those, you know. I don't know in the recent years how many have done it, but it'd be interesting.
You think Drew Brees is doing it?
No. I don't think so on that end. But yeah, on this cast, we're just going to basically cover a lot of news. What else we covered in this one?
We're going to talk about some combine notes.
Ooh.
Pretty much everybody has covered the combine, and we want to throw our 2 cents in there.
Yeah, we went through and really tackled everything. A lot of it, NFL Network, I don't know what they do sometimes, but I miss half the drills because they go to commercial.
Yeah.
And so you just got to get bits and pieces. Some guys you see twice, sometimes you see them not at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've kind of cornered the market. Nobody else really has access to it.
Yeah, besides if you're lucky enough to go or get yelled at like those 2 fans did. Those guys are walking around and say, hey, you guys need to go over there. That was hilarious, man. Yeah. I lost it because those guys are probably like, oh, man, we're going to be on TV. Like, they're going to show him yelling at us. But getting into the news, man, I think we have like 4 pages almost. Yep. Just a lot of stuff. And again, we've been gone a while, so a lot of this stuff is new to you guys hearing it, but probably old news if you have a phone. So getting into it first off, and this is the newest one that came across today, Rob Domowski reports that Muhammad Wilkerson, former defensive end of the Jets, is going to be going to Green Bay. I read it was on a 1-year to maybe 2-year deal, but I think it's going to be a 1-year deal. So we'll see how that goes. Me as a Packers fan, I hope that this can bring a little bit bigger pass rush. I mean, that's really what the guy was known for the Jets. That's what I want to see. I want to see a little bit more pass rush, so it's always nice to add a veteran. Ian Rappaport reports that Kyle Williams, defensive tackle, signs a 1-year extension. Haloi Nada reports about himself that he's going to be signing with the Eagles.
Is there much to take from this? Actually, I want to jump back to Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams has been a guy who's been considering retirement for the past couple of years. It looks like he's going to get 1 more year to finish out his contract. Defensive tackle, start 1. He's like a defensive tackle 3 or 4 for me.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that.
He's a better real-life football player than a fantasy asset. Haloti Nada, he's long in the tooth as well, and I'm not really going to go after him. Are you?
No, Haloti Nada, no. He hasn't really been a point producer in fantasy for the last 3 or 4 years. I think he hit a pretty high spot with the Ravens, but a lot of people, especially some of our newer listeners, weren't even playing IDP back then, so they would have never really gotten any benefit from him.
Now this next guy, Adam Schefter, is reporting that Star Lotulelei, defensive tackle, has signed a 5-year deal with the Buffalo Bills.
Formerly of the Panthers, which is for some of you who may have forgot where he was. Fantasy-wise, this has middle impact for me. Again, the Buffalo is trying to kind of revamp that defense, and they're going to be trying to revamp that offense. They're going to be one of the bigger, I think, movers coming close to draft day, because word on the street is they're trying to get up to the 5th pick, or in the top 5, is what the rumor is. So they got rid of Tyrod. Now they need to go up and get a quarterback, and I think that's who they're going to be shooting for.
Yep. Denver Post is reporting that Adam Gotsis, a defensive tackle for the Broncos, has been arrested on rape charges that took place in Atlanta. Reportedly, they stem back from 2013. Yeah, I do not want to cover that one. What about you, Paul?
I mean, I didn't even know about that, so that's probably... It's not. If you probably heard this name, you're probably like, who is that guy? Because that's what I thought, too.
He was a guy that we were really high on during the year. Towards the end of the season, defensive tackle. He was hurt off and on.
Next one up, Jeff Darlington reports that Ndamukong Suh will be released by the Dolphins. It comes to no big surprise. Eventually, the Dolphins are going to have to drop some cap space. It's basically a cap space cut, and they kind of stomped him out.
Yeah, I don't really see him signing with anybody, getting the same amount of money that he did get.
No, he's going to have to take a team-friendly deal to go anywhere, honestly.
Where do you see him going?
Honestly, he's probably going to try to go to a contender because he's honestly played for two franchises that aren't going to win a Super Bowl anytime soon, and that's Detroit and Miami.
Yeah.
So
Patriots really have a need for a defensive tackle.
Yeah, I was getting there to the Patriots. I think they'll probably sign a guy who wants a little bit less because I don't know if Belichick wants a guy like that.
What about the Chiefs? They just lost one of their defensive tackles.
I don't think he'd go to Kansas City.
No?
I just don't see him wanting to go there.
Okay.
I think it'll have to be a bigger town. I think he's gotten probably used to that Miami lifestyle. So I could see him wanting to go to a bigger town. So I mean,
like L.A. maybe?
Yeah. Like somewhere where they maybe have a younger team, they need a veteran presence, anything like that. I mean, he's one of those guys, he's a picky dude. He's actually pretty humble in real life, but I mean, he turns it on for football. Yep. So if you can get him with a good coaching staff, he'll probably go to someone he knows. So if you go through and probably look up coaching history and see where they're at, I mean, I think a decent fit would be the Panthers, but that's just me speaking way out.
Yeah. Field Yates is reporting that Danny Shelton, a defensive tackle formerly of the Cleveland Browns, has been traded to New England. I still remember when this dude walked across the stage and hugged the commissioner.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite moments of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And where have we seen this before? The Patriots trading for a first-round draft pick, more or less, you know.
And with the Browns.
He actually graded out in the top third of the league in defensive linemen.
Yeah, Patriots just add another good component to their defense. You know, I don't know who's stepping up as their D coordinator. I hadn't looked into that yet, but getting some more pieces to play with.
Buffalo is reporting that Owa Adigizua, a defensive end formerly of the Giants, I believe, has signed with the Buffalo Bills. I think this is just a depth move.
Yeah, they're just trying to get more there.
It looks like they're using a lot of their late-round picks and going after positions that they will need before they mortgage the farm and go after that quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Rappaport is reporting that Chris Baker, a defensive tackle, formerly with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington Redskins, signs with Cincinnati. What do you think about this move?
I'm depressed because that really takes him out of a lot of fantasy relevance for me now. Because the defensive line in Cincinnati is a team tackling. They don't really have individuals that shine anymore. They've kind of come to a neutral. With Geno and them, I feel like this is going to be a neutral playing field. And I think it honestly hurts Jordan Willis, formerly K-State, who was a rookie last year. I feel like that hurts him a little bit too.
Yeah. I don't have much to add there.
All right, Eagles.com reports that Michael Bennett, defensive lineman, was traded to the Eagles from Seattle. I haven't really seen much relevance out of Michael Bennett. He's been kind of banged up too. So, again, I think he's probably just wanted to go to a team where he has a chance to win another title. You know, if you see the Eagles going back.
Do I? I don't see why not. You know, just it's hard to go against the status quo. And they've been making a lot of great moves in free agency. And I like what they're doing.
Yeah. I think keeping Nick Foles is definitely going to help them in that, just in case Carson Wentz isn't quite ready to come back.
Cowboys.com is reporting that DeMarcus Lawrence, a defensive end, has been slapped with the franchise tag. Are you really surprised here?
Mm-mm. I kind of figured that'd be the move because they couldn't work out a deal. They were trying.
Yeah.
They just couldn't work it out. And that does happen quite often.
Yeah.
ESPN reports that Robert Quinn was traded to Miami. I saw that one and I was like, Quinn and the Dolphins. I'm like, I don't necessarily hate that move. I think that makes their two DNs pretty good together. I think they can mesh.
Yeah. I think that's going to free up the linebackers. It's going to keep Kiko Alonso healthier. And I really think this is a good fit for him. I'd like to see them keep Sue, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I feel like he would open up a lot of opportunities for Quinn. to return back to 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Schefter is reporting that Maurice Hurst, a defensive tackle from Michigan, the university, he's a NFL draft prospect, has a heart condition. A lot of this is similar to Nick Fairley and something that has been developed in the past couple of years with him. I believe he retired this offseason.
Yes,
is that correct?
yes, Nick Fairley did.
And it is one of those things where he's going to have to make a huge decision. Me personally, I see him getting drafted and potentially on a 1-year contract, kind of just trying to work for the rest of his life, you know.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that at the Combine, he was not allowed. They found it at the Combine is when they really announced it. He was still there, you know, trying to liven up the guys in the defensive line group. Him and Vita Vea were kind of joking around. It was pretty fun to watch. If you want a little bit more stuff in depth with Hurst, one of our new writers wrote an article for our website about him. So it's one of those kind of gives you a little bit more draft depth on him, you know. Really good article.
Not only that, but you can check out our premium podcast. It is $4.99 and it's for 12 months. You can find it on our website or on Podbean.
It's coming up, man. Season's getting close. You guys want to jump in before everyone else does. You know, you guys want to be putting away these stashes, especially in dynasty leagues. You know, you're going to have a lot of these guys we talk about, and we've already covered the defensive line, but you can go back, listen to that podcast, get a little bit more, and then just watch where they get drafted and judge from there, and we'll also help you break it down throughout the way.
Ian Rappaport is reporting that Avery Williamson, a linebacker formerly of the Tennessee Titans, has signed with the Jets. Interesting nugget here. He reportedly had the number 3 rank behind Luke Kuechly and Bobby Wagner in PFF grades. What do you think about Avery Williamson with the Jets?
I think he can get some tackles. I mean, we've seen a lot of linebackers from the Jets be relevant in fantasy.
Okay, who does this help and who does it hurt on the defense? I've got 2 that I'm thinking of.
Who it helps?
Who does it help? Who does it hurt?
I think it's going to help the backfield. I think it's going to help Adams out because he's going to be able to cover what he's blitzing on. Because Williamson has been a pretty decent blitzer for Tennessee.
Yeah.
So that might clear up some more tackles for him because I want to see him grow in year 2. He's a guy who's on my watch list for year 2. Guy that it hurts is probably Lee. That's probably
Lee or Harris.
Probably Lee more than Harris. Lee's kind of gone back and forth with the coaching staff. He's been kind of
Davis. My bad.
Davis, yeah. I think it hurts Lee a little more. Again, I would like to see Lee maybe show up in camp and be a beast and really seal that up.
I feel like it hurts Davis more just because he's a little bit slower than Lee. That's something that Lee kind of uses to his advantage.
Yeah.
And we saw his tackle numbers increase this year. That being said, Davis had a hell of a lot of tackles.
Mm-hmm.
But being in the inside position, I think Avery Williamson's going to be quicker to the ball, have more opportunities to make those tackles, whereas Davis would typically roam over the middle. And I agree with you on the safety. Go ahead and take the next one.
All right. Mass Live is reporting that James Harrison is in talks with the Patriots on a contract.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like he may stay around another year. Again, got to the Super Bowl but lost. Thank you, Eagles. We all appreciate it. It's like watching Alabama lose in a national championship game. We all just feel a little better about ourselves. Jacina Anderson is reporting that Corey Williams, linebacker, was signed to the Eagles. Corey Nelson, I'm sorry. We're kind of reading from writing here, so it's going to get a little translated.
Yeah, it's my writing. Not the best writer in the world. So.
Better than mine. I'll give you that. It's better than mine.
Corey Nelson, what do we have here? We have what I see as a journeyman throughout the NFL. I don't think he's going to have spectacular numbers with the Eagles.
No, but they need linebacker help.
Yeah,
that's been their one tackle weak spot in fantasy.
More depth than anything.
Yeah,
they've got plenty of starters there. Adam Schefter is reporting that Christian Jones, a linebacker, formerly of the Chicago Bears, has been signed to the Detroit Lions. Let's go ahead and hit the next one too, because they're both in play. Peter Schrager is reporting that Devon Keenard, linebacker formerly with the Giants, has been signed to the Lions. Who wins that battle? And
I'd probably say Christian Jones is going to win that battle. I think Christian Jones is a little bit more of a solid tackler, but I mean, it could come down to training camp. I mean, like most of these battles are going to, but
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Detroit likes them enough to get both of them, so obviously they have a plan for both of them. Jaguars.com is reporting that Paul Posluszny has retired. I feel so bad, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally depressed about that news. Because, man, I had him on the Great Wall of Paul, baby. That was one of my fantasy teams. I had Paul Posluszny, Paul Warlow, and Paul Kruger all in the same year. And, of course, my name is Paul, so I had the Wall of Paul. That was one of my favorite ones. I went and got Paul Kruger. Did not have any intention of ever playing Paul Kruger, just so I could make that name. Like, yeah, I thought it was the perfect name for me.
Yeah, it's a sad day whenever Paul Posluszny is retiring. A guy that I grew up playing with on my fantasy team, and he'll be missed.
He's a stud, man. You know how many great years he put together before Luke came along.
I'm not going to lie, if I've got a bench player that I don't really like, I may just keep Paul Posluszny on my team.
Yeah, why not?
Just an ode to him. Ian Rappaport is reporting that Anthony Hitchens, a linebacker formerly of the Dallas Cowboys, has signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of talk around here, and we live in the Kansas area. They're really excited about this move. They feel like they've shored up their defense, and me personally, I don't think this is much of an addition compared to Reggie Ragland, KPL. I feel like a lot of these guys are gadget linebackers, for lack of a better term. You'll have some that are good at pass rushing, some that are good at run stuffing, and none that are really good at coverage. So I don't really see much gain here. Something that I want to watch.
Again, like I've said, I really have never used Chiefs linebackers in IDP. I've just never wanted to. I would rather take a risk on another team than really go with Chiefs linebackers for the most part.
It really does depend on how your league is structured. I know we play in a similar league, or the same league. But we have edge rushers, and we kind of value those guys a little bit lower than most other linebackers. And with those edge rushers, the only guy I really like is Justin Houston, and he's been kind of sour lately.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And speaking of Chiefs linebackers, Adam Schefter reported that Tamba Ali was released.
He's no longer needed.
No longer needed. Thank you. I knew you were waiting for that one. Buck's been over here just waiting for me to hit that news.
That is going back to a tweet that he got last year or 2 years ago. Last year, where he reportedly tweeted the team and asked if they still needed him because they hadn't really talked to him or said much about his contract. And they didn't release him, but
nope.
Maybe that was his leverage of staying on the team because they didn't need him. They really did not need him.
No, they really didn't. DetroitLions.com reports that Jalen Reeves-Maben is looking for backup this offseason.
He's looking to bulk up this season.
Bulk up, okay.
And the reason is probably because Christian Jones, Devin Kennard, and Tahir Whitehead, and who's the other guy? The rookie from last season? Gerard Davis.
Gerard Davis, yeah.
Are all going to beat him out of this position. So I would be hitting the weights. I would be running a little bit harder, maybe staying away from the ice cream, just trying to keep that position. We saw him flash at the tail end of last season. Kid's coming out of Tennessee. I liked what I saw on tape from this kid in college. And we talk about how we break down these linebackers and what we're looking for on our premium podcast. But he graded out pretty well. The one knock on him was his size. And I think if he can figure that out, he's already got the speed and he's got the smarts to be in the right position.
Yep.
And I'll take this one because I'm not too excited about it. Adam Schefter is reporting that Alec Ogletree has been traded to the Giants. I own Alec Ogletree in one of my dynasty leagues, and I loved this guy in L.A. I thought he was going to be a guy that I could depend on for years to come. Him moving to the Giants, I worry because there's a tendency for all of these guys to get hurt. He does have a problem with his knees that he's been hurt a couple times in the past 5 years. This dating back to college. And I'm kind of worried just because of the cold that he's going to be experiencing up in New York. What do you got on him, Paul?
I like the move.
You like it?
Reason is because Giants when they play at home, you get extra solo tackles, baby.
Mm-hmm.
You get that little extra boost, man.
You
think of the guy who gets that many tackles, and you just add you add probably 2 or 3 more points just because he's playing at home.
You looking to buy? Catch me offline. Or outside.
I mean, I'm not, especially since they've kind of gotten rid of everyone else for the most part. I mean, he's going to have to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the Giants liked him enough to trade some picks for him.
True.
I'm fine with that.
Ian Rappaport is reporting that Brian Cushing is visiting with the Seahawks. Your thoughts?
I guess someone needs roid somewhere.
Delivery!
Yeah.
No, it's DeJordo.
All the way from Houston.
Raiders.com is reporting that they have released Alden Smith. Thank you, baby Jesus.
Didn't he get arrested on something else now?
He did, bro.
He's like Joseph Randall. He gets arrested like 5 times a year.
Let's not talk about it. He will never be IDP relevant ever again.
But he's a Raider. I mean, it fits him perfectly.
True. I think they kept him. They knew that he was about to get in trouble. They're like, you know what? We need to keep him long enough just so he can get that image. Same with Sean Smith down here. You'll see.
I'm still laughing about that because I still think that's hilarious.
Greg Rosenthal is reporting that Ryan Shazier will not play in 2018. This is another reason why I am looking to draft a lot of linebackers this season. Check out our linebacker podcast. It is free.
The middle linebacker will be coming up here soon.
Yep.
Well, that's a biggie.
All right, Paul.
Buck is depressed about Ryan Shazier. I want that to be
really
noted.
am, man. I traded for this dude. What was it, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
When we did our Dynasty startup. And he's been a guy that I think I bought from you a couple times in multiple leagues.
Oh, yeah.
But I
literally would draft him just because I knew Buck would come calling for him eventually.
I always pay a premium for this dude. I
always take him.
Bears.com is reporting that Prince Amukamara, cornerback, has re-signed with the team. Adam Schefter is reporting that Tremaine Johnson, a cornerback formerly with the Rams, has signed with the Jets, or will sign tomorrow. Adam Schefter is reporting that Malcolm Butler, a cornerback for the New England Patriots, has signed with the Titans. Ian Rappaport is reporting that Nicole Roby-Coleman has signed with the Rams. Ian Rappaport is reporting that Rashad Breeland has signed with the Panthers. Aaron Colvin, a cornerback, has signed with the Jaguars. Tavon Wilson, safety, has signed with the Lions for a 2-year extension. A guy that I picked up late last season just because of the injury. He's a guy that's going to be one of my sleepers going into next season. Aaron Wilson is reporting that EJ Gaines, he's on the Texans' radar. I don't know if that's...
Well, again, EJ Gaines was the guy who was traded really near the beginning of the season. He went from the Rams to the Bills.
Yeah.
And he had some good games, had some good spots there. I mean, you look at when they went back and played the Bills, that was one of his good games, and the Eagles. That was one of his other good games. Mm-hmm. So the guy has some upside. It's just probably not enough to warrant unless you're in a deep league and you just need some extra depth.
Ian Rappaport reports that Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie is visiting with the Redskins. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, nothing to see here. No, go ahead.
Akron Bacon is reporting that Demarius Randall has been traded to the Green Bay Packers.
Not traded to the Packers. He was traded away from the Packers.
Oh, yeah.
He was traded to the Browns for Kaiser.
Are you excited?
No. I'm excited that Randall's gone.
Why not?
I'm excited Randall's gone, but I don't care about Kaiser. I didn't care about him when he came out of college. Why would I care? All we're doing is getting a third backup.
All right.
Unless they're going to ship Hudley for some nice picks in the draft. That's the only thing I can think of.
They're gonna get much
but how much value can they get?
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe a first?
Yeah. I wish, man. Do that.
No. What's your buying point for Hundley? Are you buying him at all if you're an NFL franchise?
I don't know if I need a backup.
I guess. Dude, he played so bad last year.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get what getting Kaiser out of it. I haven't really been able to find any
I
information
really
really
love
why they
Kaiser,
want
man.
Kaiser.
I was a dynasty owner with Kaiser last year. He's a guy that I got in the 4th round, and I was tickled pink because I thought this guy was going to be a stud. And I thought he could have been a stud if he wasn't thrust into the lineup so fast and expected to play, and then yanked from the lineup whenever he was doing bad and not learning from his mistakes. You know, you can't just play with a young kid's mind like that, especially whenever he's supposed to be the face of the franchise at the quarterback position. And there was a lot of good things that I saw from him too. Mm-hmm. You know, he was making good decisions one moment, making terrible decisions the next.
Yeah. For me, on the Demarius Randall side of it, I'm okay with it. I know he had some problems with the coaching staff. I'm cool with that. Again, the guy can play really good, and he can play really, really bad. I've seen both upsides. If he goes to the Brown, he'll probably just continue the bad play there.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not buying him if he goes anywhere. You put him on the Patriots, I still wouldn't buy him.
Rick Stroud is reporting that Brent Grimes is on a 1-year contract with Tampa Bay. He has been a guy that's been productive late in his career, and he was a top corner 2 years ago in our dynasty setting. Mm-hmm. And if I own him, I'm going to be selling him for anything I can get. He's
kind of turned into Cortland Finnegan. Mm-hmm. Like, Finnegan was one of those guys who turned out really good.
They both
late
played
in his
on
career.
the Dolphins at one point together.
Yes, they did. All right, looks like
I'll take this one. Raiders.com is reporting that Sean Smith will be going to jail for 1 year. He has been released by the Raiders. I think they waited until he got sentenced for committing a felony assault on his sister's boyfriend. Don't know what happened, but if you had a sister, Paul, would you be going to jail for about a year or no?
I don't know. I don't think my sister would be that attractive. So, I mean, I look at me and I'm just like, I think I'll be all right.
So if your sister was attractive, you would go to bat for her?
It depends. It depends on the situation, I guess.
All right, let's move on. Sorry, I had to mess with you there.
All right, looks like NFL.com reports that Richard Sherman is going to sign with the 49ers. This one perplexes me. I was perplexed when it happened, and I still don't understand it. He said, literally, I want to play for a contender. Do you see San Francisco making the playoffs? We'll start there. Making the playoffs. Wild card. Making the playoffs. Do they win to their division?
I want to say yes so bad. Like, I want to see it happen and see it happen. You know.
Do they win their division? That's the question. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No,
they're not going to win their. You know, do they go to the playoffs? Do they go in the wild card? No. So, I mean, you're not really wanting to play a contender. He's kind of like Brett Favre. He wanted to go play for a different team that could play his team twice. Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of. 49ers had a little more cap room. They were willing to spend more on him. Honestly, I would have been okay with Rich Sherman going to Green Bay, but it wouldn't have been necessarily a scheme fit. It'd just be nice to have a shutdown corner again on the outside. But again, he's coming off an Achilles injury, so you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's like a box of chocolates.
Yes, sir. Bengals.com is reporting that Adam Jones has been released. Adam Pac-Man Jones.
Going to the Raiders.
I would not be surprised. Dead honest. You know, that guy posted the third highest 40 speed on the field last season. Mm-hmm. That is insane. This dude is like, what, 36?
87? Something like that.
More or less. He's an old dude. He can still return punts pretty well. James Palmer is reporting that Aqib Talib has been traded to the Rams. What is going on with the Rams now?
They just traded him for a gold chain. That's all they had to give him. It's a pretty easy trade after that. Hopefully they sign Michael Crabtree next. That'd be awesome. Make them play together.
That would be insane.
Or put Richard Sherman and Michael Crabtree on the same team. That'd be fun to watch, too. I'd watch either one. Ian Rappaport reports that LaMarcus Joyner was slapped with the franchise tag. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'll hold tight. I was really upset that the Raiders did not jump after this dude. We have not made any moves this offseason.
What do you mean this offseason? It's just now starting. Free agency's just opening.
We got a tight end.
What'd you guys sign, Cooks?
No, it was the dude from Logan Paulson, I believe. From
Are you going to keep teasing me?
Washington Redskins.
Paul?
I think it was.
Niles Paul?
Niles Paul, yeah.
Oh, okay. And they're like Green Bay. They keep trying with these veterans, and you don't know if they're going to stick.
Yo, I did have a dream. One, that Seton Hall was going to win something. What that is, maybe it was their track season. I don't know. But they are about to play in the big March Madness tournament. And if they win the first game and KU wins the first game, University of Kansas, they will play each other. And it is not uncanny of KU to lose a big game to a small school.
And like I told Buck earlier today, I'm like, I picked Seton Hall in like three or four of my brackets.
So if this happens, I'm going to tell you about my next premonition. And that was waking up in the middle of the night saying, Ben Koyak, Ben Koyak. Why the hell was I thinking about Ben Koyak? I have no idea. I didn't watch anything about him, nothing. But if this does come to fruition, I'm going to be the first one on the waiver wire to get Ben Koyak. I swear. You'll see it. Seton Hall takes down KU, and I'm over here adding Ben Koyak.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. All right, to bring us back to reality, not our dreams, ESPN reports that Marlon Humphrey had robbery charges and has been dismissed. Or his robbery charges had been dismissed.
Yep. I don't have much to say about that.
Yeah, nothing here. Yeah. Saints.com reports that Kurt Coleman was signed by the Saints. Old man Coleman. I mean, what are they? I guess they're just wanting to pair him up with Bird in case Bird gets hurt. I guess. I don't know. I don't know anymore, man.
I'm kind of excited for that IDP-wise. Kurt Coleman's been a stud. 2 years ago, he finished as the top 2. I don't think he was top 1. Yeah, because Landon Collins took it.
Yeah.
But Coleman was right up there, and he was performing really well.
And that was also when the Panthers' defense was a little bit better, too.
True. Okay, so there's a little stat that I like to talk about as we begin to transition into the
Combine.
It's this 7-second rule that you have with these edge rushers. And there were only 3 guys that got under 7 seconds this combine. And that is Kylie Fitz out of Utah, the guy that we talked about a couple podcasts ago on our premium podcast. Not going to tease too much here. A guy that I'm really excited about is Harold Landry. I don't really know many guys that can dip like him. I thought he had one of the better dips around the edge, almost like a Von Miller. And Trayvon Young from Louisville. That being said, I believe Bradley Chubb had 7.8?
I think so.
It was terrible. So there's it's kind of heuristics, you know. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater because yes, he did post a low 3-cone drill, but do I think this is always true? No, of course not. You know, I think Chubb's going to be all right.
Now, the question is with Landry, do you put him above Key at this point?
Yes. Yeah, I think he showed out at the combine. Pretty sure he ran a faster 40. 4.65, yeah. I think
well,
he did not run.
Yeah, Arden Key didn't run because his knee's not back to 100% yet.
Yeah.
And that's my big concern.
Well, why didn't you do the push-ups?
I don't know why he didn't do the bench. Probably because it wasn't going to be that good for defensive ends.
Yeah. Okay, who are the guys that stuck out to you? I know you mentioned there were a lot of linemen that you liked.
Are we going offensive lineman first?
Yeah, why not? You know, just
yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm probably the only person who gets excited about offensive line at the combine.
You probably are.
I probably am, man. I love offensive line because you learn so much about them in the combine. Like, you're not going to learn a whole bunch of, oh, this guy's good at this guy's good at this. You're going to learn actual facts because they don't have a lot of tape to show these guys, except for probably 3 or 4 of them. That's it. The biggest takeaway from some of these guys is Mason Cole, probably going to be a center in the NFL. This kid is from Michigan. He is the first ever true freshman to start all his games at Michigan.
Wow.
I feel like that is a very impressive stat. He ran a 5.23, so again, about middle of the pack. That's good. We don't necessarily judge offensive linemen on their 40 times. More of the 10-yard bursts is what they look for. Yeah. Is getting off that first 10. A guy who was the worst. I'm gonna start with the worst, so I can just build from there. was Orlando Brown from Oklahoma. He was god-freaking awful.
I think we could have beaten him.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I could have gone and posted better numbers. And that's me being out of shape and fat. And I'm pretty sure I could have beat him who was in shape and fat. Like, that guy ran a 5.86, and that was slow. Rich Gannon almost beat him in Run, Rich, Run. This close, man.
Rich Gannon.
Or not Rich Gannon, sorry, Rich Eisen.
Always talking about the Raiders and the Chiefs, man.
Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry.
No. Let's take a side note. Have you ever seen his brown earpieces? They are so nasty. Paul, go ahead and keep talking about the offense.
See, Buck always gets on me about doing side trips, and he's the one over here getting side trips today. All right, another guy who really impressed for me. Oh, no. I'm going to finish with Brown. This guy had 14 reps on the bench press. 14. I'm tapping my fingers because I'm irritated. Like, I don't know. He looked good in Senior Bowl practices. He had good moments, but other than that, it was just, bleh. Like, by far the worst offensive lineman. I'm staying away from him if you happen to have offensive linemen in your league. I don't know. I've played in a couple. That's why I like him so much. A guy who is really high on Mayock's board is Alex Kappa from the small school over in D2. He ran a 5.33, which is, again, pretty quick for him. Guy's got long hair like Clay Matthews, so he's probably going to have some hair commercials if he becomes famous. For Kampa, he didn't play quite as well in the combine, but he kept his hips really low on the agility drill, which I really liked. He was 340 at the Senior Bowl, and he came into the combine at 327. So the guy's obviously taking the right steps and playing pretty well. So, again, that's one that I really like is when guys come in more in shape. And he did really well in the snap and pull drill as well. Again, I was hoping he would show up because he was going to have to beat some of these top guys to really get noticed and go far in the NFL. And the reason that I like offensive linemen so much, and I'll pound the table for some of these guys, is because these are the guys who are going to help make you or help break you in IDP. Reason is because they're going to stop your tackles or they're going to allow your tackles.
True.
Whoever drafts Orlando Brown, which I hope is the Giants, I hope they draft him because it would fit in right along with the crap they have. That would be awesome because I'm going to be playing every one of my starters against the Giants on the front line.
True. There are a lot of guys that want to get into fantasy football and talking about the impact of certain plays and what have you. I have never seen anybody go in depth with offensive linemen and the impact that they have on fantasy analysis.
Yeah.
You know? And it would be nice to see somebody do that. And somebody who's listening out there who's looking to do something in the industry, this is one of those things that you could be the Matt Harmon of offensive linemen.
Yeah.
You know?
And I try to. I always try to keep up on offensive line because I feel like it's an important position that just doesn't get talked about because these guys have to have it.
Yeah, and if you're an offensive lineman, what are you always trying to protect?
Your quarterback.
Exactly. You see these earpieces? Go ahead and type Rich Gannon earpieces. I swear, these things are the brownest things that I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. And
I think he kept them dirty just for good luck.
Probably. He's a Raider. What do you expect?
He was like, oh no, we've got a winning season.
All right, another guy who really impressed me, of course, is the guy who I would draft number one if I had an offensive league, if I had any offensive lineman in a league, and that's Hernandez. The dude's going to be a stud, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's absolutely a monster. He ran a 5.14, one of the quicker times that day. The one thing that I really like that you probably didn't know, I mean, I hope you didn't know, is that his coaches at UTEP, where he came from, they are now offensive line coaches in the NFL. One of them, particularly with the Broncos and their offensive line coach.
Oh, no.
So you're looking at a guy who's had the coaching already of NFL caliber guys. I love that. That just adds more to me.
Yeah.
That adds more layers.
Are you taking him at 5, though?
Am I taking him at 5?
Yeah.
If I have an offensive lineman league, I'm going to be...
No, if you're the Broncos. My bad.
Oh, I was like, dang, I didn't know we were going that high. If I were the Broncos, I don't know, he could go anywhere.
Or would you trade back with the Buffalo Bills and get him?
Yeah, especially since you kind of signed somebody already at the quarterback position that you could probably get by with. I mean, Case Keenum can probably get you somewhere.
Honestly, you could
move
back to what they're at 12 now. You could move back to 12, take an offensive or defensive player of need.
They already traded back once.
And then
the Broncos.
No. If you did, and then assuming you get their 22nd pick,
I mean, you can draft both of them.
Then you can draft
Mayfield
type guy,
and you can probably get Mayfield down there too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. All these signings are going to kind of affect where some of these rookies go. But with Bridgewater only doing a 1 year at the Jets, I think Mayfield to the Jets is looking better and better.
Yeah.
At least me personally. But again, Hernandez, I think, is going to be a stud in the NFL. One funny interview he had, they asked him what he's going to spend his first check on. The guy said, well, he's like, I'm kind of a hoarder, so I'm going to probably put it in the bank. He's like, but I will buy one thing. He's like, I'm going to buy a toilet where I don't have to wipe anymore. Isn't that such an offensive lineman thing to say?
Yeah.
Like, just to do that one thing. I found that hilarious. I was crying when I heard it. It was so funny, man. I love this guy. So, out of all the offensive linemen, he's going to be the top. Orlando Brown's going to be the bottom. There are a lot of good talent. I think that Desmond Harrison is a sneaker for a lot of guys. So, just watch, especially if it's your favorite team. Just watch some of these guys. He was a guy who was kicked out of Texas, but he has really good talent. He went to Georgia Southern. I liked him. He ran one of the faster times. He was in the 4.75. So he was pretty quick. And again, his 10-yard shuttle was really good as well.
And you know, we see a lot of these skill players go ahead and skip out on stuff. You saw Sam Darnold skip out on passing drills. What about this Nelson kid? I didn't watch the offensive lineman 40s or any of the combine. Did he actually work out?
Who?
The Nelson kid that Mike Mayock has, number 1. He's a guard.
No, he did not, actually. He was going to, and I guess he kind of tweaked something. No, he did. He ran drills, I'm sorry. He did not run the 40. That's what I was. I'm sorry, I'm backwards on that one.
How did he look? Did he...
He looked, I mean, yeah, he looked good. He looked like a number, probably a top 7 pick, in my opinion, should look.
Yeah.
So, and again, he could have not done anything, and that probably wouldn't have changed a lot. I'm still saying Hernandez is going to be the best out of the group. I've seen more of him, and I really like the kid. One more note is the funny drill, and I know no one really watches the drill, but the mirror drill basically is when you have to kick out to the left and cover your guy to keep your hands up. Brown, who's the worst, he had to go against number 14, who was the fastest guy to run the 40. He got smoked, man. It was so funny. And then the slowest guy, which was Brown, he had to do another drill against the fastest guy, and he got smoked in the mirror drill. And in case you don't know what the mirror drill is, it's basically, they also call it the rabbit drill. It's where an offensive lineman will go, keep his hands out, and he'll just mirror the offensive line. And the offensive lineman will run back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, try to zigzag, and he wants to stay with them. They compared Josh Sitton a lot in this drill. Or David Bakhtiari, because he had one of the better mirror drills. So that was kind of what you were looking for at the top. So I just thought that was funny, because Brown could not keep up at all. And I don't know what's up with the knee brace, but I think it just made him even slower than he already is.
It's there for moral support.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's got a little chip, almost like those Valentine's Day or Easter cards. That's coming up pretty soon, where you open it up and it starts singing to you.
Nice.
You know, kind of like whenever he opens up his gate.
Yeah.
In that 40, you know.
Mm-hmm. And another one, Karl Malone's son was also in the NFL Combine. The mailman's son running the 40. That was pretty cool to watch. That pretty much covers offensive line. I think we've killed plenty of time, and people probably turned it off by this point. So, doing pretty good, the offensive lineman.
What about defensive linemen? Anybody stick out to you? Anybody make some money?
Getting in the DLs. All right, we're going to jump right into those.
I'll go ahead and jump on.
Go ahead, man.
Marcus Davenport, I thought that he kind of solidified himself into the first round.
Are we throwing DNs in this, or are we just doing straight
All
defensive
linemen, yeah.
Okay.
Reason being is because he's coming from the University of Texas San Antonio. Did I hit it?
What did you say?
Did I hit it? University of Texas San Antonio.
Attaway, man.
Yes.
Attaway, that's what I'm talking about.
Honestly, I saw it once and I got it. Anyways, him coming from a small school, we expected him to compete in the Underwear Olympics and at least be up to par, if not better than his peers, especially with the draft grade he's been getting. He did run the 40. It was a 4.59. Was that faster than what we expected?
For me, what would you say, 4.59?
4.59.
Yeah, that was about what I expected.
That's tremendous, honestly, because most linebackers don't run that.
Yeah.
You know, him getting 22 on the bench press, I thought that was great. Again, I wish we still had the numbers of what we had.
And if you want to note it, he ran faster than Chubb.
Yeah.
So if you want to set the bar at the top of the guy who's probably going to be taken in the first 3 picks, allegedly.
Yeah, but he's taller and lighter.
Yeah.
You know,
He's not lighter.
Lighter, yeah. He's 256. Chubb is 275.
Chubb weighed in at 269 and Davenport at 264. I haven't updated the weights on those. That's my bad. I apologize.
It's all good. I
didn't get to the weights. I focused on the 40 and the bench because I thought those are more prevalent. But yeah. But again, all these guys are going to trim down. It's a trimming down process.
Yeah, we talked about Landry. Did we talk about him on the podcast? About how I'd move him above Arden Keno?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we covered that in the news.
Okay.
Right when you're talking about the
What
shuttle.
about Sam Hubbard? We saw his 3-cone drill. And I believe it was the fastest out of the defensive line. He had a 6.84. Are you moving him up?
No. For me, I'm still on the fence. I need to see more. He's gonna be dependent on who drafts him. I would have wished he would have run the 40, so I had a little bit, and I wish he would have done the bench, which he didn't do either.
Yeah.
I wish there would have been, again, a little more. And I understand some of these guys, they're going to wait till their pro days to do the rest of that, and that's cool. I get it. But a lot of the time it's hard to find those numbers on pro days unless it's like a big pro day where they have a whole ton of people there.
Yeah.
It's hard.
For me, being an Ohio State fan, I like Sam Hubbard. I think he's a fluid athlete, but I'm not necessarily going to put him up in the elite tier. Him running that 6.84 3-cone drill, again, lower than the 7, that speaks volumes. I would have liked to seen him participate in a lot of these other drills, but just being a technique guy, he's not really flash, so I'm going to be looking for depth whenever I think about Sam Hubbard.
And the one thing I did like about this combine for the defensive ends is I really liked the fact that Davenport and Chubb went right after each other, or Chubb then Davenport. They just kind of lined up alphabetically.
Yeah.
So you literally got to compare them every time against the drill. And then everyone to commercial. So it's perfect.
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to see at the combine? I'd like to see people lined up off of like a national poll of where all these guys are projected to go. So then you can see the top talent and you can see how it ranks compared to other people instead of by their last name.
Yeah. Well, but for the people who are actually there, the coaches, it makes it easier when it's alphabetical.
But here's the thing. If you're next to a guy that you are marginally close to versus a guy that is far and away better than you, it makes it hard to really climb that ladder, Yeah. And especially whenever you see guys like, Mata Alpha trying to do a bunch of stuff that he shouldn't be doing, where he's going to excel in a lot of the underwear Olympic stuff, being a smaller guy against bigger guys.
Yeah, and Mata Alpha was paired right around with James Looney and Javian Roland Jones. So, I mean, honestly, I feel like that's about his competition level.
Yeah.
It's just, that happened alphabetically. It's not by choice, but I feel like he's way better than Looney, and I feel like he's better than quite a few of the other guys in there. I actually liked his combine a lot more.
Yeah,
and that paired with his tape, which is really good as well.
Yeah, we really like this tape. You got anything else for the defensive lineman?
For the D lineman, I guess if we're going to go D lineman, you talk about the big boys up front too. I really liked Rasheem Green. I figured he was going to be one of the faster guys. He ran a 4.74. Not completely shocked about that. Again, he's more of a hybrid defensive lineman, defensive end, so I expected him to run a little bit quicker. One guy who impressed me a lot more than I thought was going to be, no, I kind of had him, sorry. B.J. Hill, I think he separated himself from Justin Jones in the combine. These guys have been close. They've been playing a lot of the same Senior Bowls, etc. together. I feel like B.J. Hill kind of stepped into the next upper echelon because he ran a faster 40, and I felt like he's more fluid in the drills.
Yeah.
For the other big guys, let's see who I had.
I thought Nathan Shepard had a good combine workout.
Yes, that's. Thank you. I was getting to him next.
And that's kind of the same stuff we saw with him and Marcus Davenport. How both of these guys were kind of underrated. Not necessarily Davenport because he raised his stock at the Senior Bowl, and he's kind of been gaining traction. But a lot of these small school guys are kind of struggling to get that stamp of approval that a lot of these bigger college.
Yeah, and it really sucked that Shepard got his hand messed up at the Senior Bowl. That really sucks. I'd have liked to see him play. I think it would have been a difference maker for it. But, Nathan Shepard and his drills and the movement drill, I had him nice and neat. In the agility drill, I put that he murdered it. I thought he was one of the more agile guys. In the shuffle punt, I put damn good. So I was really liking his stuff. And even in the back cuts, I put stud. Like, I thought I'd like him just because he was from this area, but the dude showed up. And I feel like if he would have been put up there against some of the better ones, I think he showed far and away that he's a lot better. And Harrison Phillips has grown on me. He's a guy who grew on you a little while ago. He's starting to grow on me now. I kind of like him a little more. Kind of remind me of Kyle Williamson. Yeah. That's kind of who he's starting to remind me of. So I think it could be pretty interesting.
At first, I hated his game tape. I thought he was terrible. At the Senior Bowl, whenever he was playing against guys more his age.
Yeah.
Granted, we were watching a lot of tape of the big SEC teams.
Yeah.
With him. But, go ahead.
Last one I want to cover is Vita Vea, a guy who we had ranked basically our number one. I think we both agreed on that one. He had 41 reps on the bench press. Duke and freaking bench, man. He did tweak his hammy after his second 40, I'm sorry. He ran a 5.11 across the board in both of them. So, again, I feel like that's pretty good for how much he weighs. So, again, he's weighing in at 347. Dude's low, but he can move.
Dude, you should have seen my dad's face whenever I showed him tape of this dude just ripping through offensive linemen. He was like, oh, my gosh.
That's why they call him the Mountain.
He was like, do you think we can get him in the first? I was like, yeah, we shouldn't be paying that.
No, not at what your guys' pick are.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk about the combine where they did the coin toss. Oh, yeah. That was the one that no one wanted to be there for, and they thought that was all stupid, especially John Gruden. Yeah. His face is like, man, they're paying me to be here. Like, what the hell? Like, this is a waste of my time. Lastly, on the defensive line group, again, I like watching these bigger guys because these guys are your meat of your sandwich.
Yeah.
They're not. Some of them aren't going to be as flashy, especially in the line, the nose tackles, the D linemen. But again, you're going to get a lot of good building for your team and for fantasy value going forward. Some of these guys you're going to want to warrant putting your watch list on, like Nathan Shepard, Rasheem Green. I think these guys are easy to put a little stamp on. I think B.J. Hill, Belial Nichols, I wish he would have been able to run his second 40 and participate, but he pulled his hammy after his first one. So I thought he did really good. He ran a 4.96. Yeah. And he showed out during our Senior Bowl, and I believe, did he play in the PA game? I'm not 100% sure anymore. He may or may not have. But he was a guy who was steadily improving his draft stock through these miniature games. So, again, sucks he pulled his hammy.
What about Maurice Hurst? Do you think he's out of the top 3 rounds now?
I think so. Honestly, I think maybe third. I mean, at the highest. Yeah. But I mean, teams are going to take that hard thing serious. So maybe at the pro day they can kind of explain it. Maybe he can get to working out again. He thinks he's going to be able to get this settled. So we'll see. I mean, that stuff's a real deal. You're not going to take someone on and pay them a base salary just to never play.
Yeah.
And he may fall to a guy who goes down in the 5th round.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay, he gets drafted. Let's just say he gets drafted, and you're in a dynasty league. You have 10 rounds, and you have 10 teams. What round are you going to be drafting Maurice Hurst?
Probably like 9th.
Okay.
I would take him low. Like, it really depends on where he gets drafted.
Yeah.
If he gets drafted higher and you think a team really likes him, then you might shoot for it. But again, I didn't think Maurice Hurst was in the topper echelons of defensive linemen when I've gone through and watched tape and done ranks. I felt he had a good burst and he played really low, but there were a lot of holes as well.
Yeah, a lot of the things that we noticed on him was that he created the fastest get off,
Yeah.
And he created separation. But what he did with that separation was very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. That frees up linebackers, allows them to go ahead and make moves behind you, create running lanes for your linebackers.
Open up that A, B, and C gap.
But if you can't get off of them and tackle the running back, it means nothing in that.
Yeah, and he had some of the shorter arms, too, of some of those other upper defensive linemen. So, again, it's going to really be up to a team to take a risk, and they'll have to do their medical research and see how bad it really is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish the best for him. I think the kid's a class act. So the fact he showed up and he stayed proves a lot to me.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right, let's move into the linebackers.
All righty. Got them in a big old group.
I think the one that stuck out the most was Shaquem Griffin.
Oh, yeah, man.
I think that's an easy cop-out, but the guy that ran the fastest three-cone for the linebackers was Dorian O'Daniel. He ran a 6.64. The second fastest was Josie Jewell, 6.8, followed by Oren Burks, 6.82, which there was very little tape on this dude, and we cover that in our linebacker segment. And then we've got Matthew Thomas, 6.85, Leighton Vander Esch, 6.88.
I'm going to start calling him Frankenstein. I want that to start trending on Twitter, so get out there and start hashtagging that Frankenstein. Please and thank you.
There were a couple more that were very close to 7, but none of them were really edge rushers.
Yeah. Yeah, for me on the linebacking group, again, Shaquem, I mean, he was one of the stories. I think Buck and I talked about him kind of before he hit the national spotlight. We kind of started saying, hey, man, look at his tape.
Yeah.
Like, his tape is good. He put up 20 reps on the bench. They even covered that live, which, I mean, I get why, but at the same time, I'm like, we didn't really need to see him, Brett, but whatever. He ran the fastest time ever for a linebacker at 4.38. Dude blazed. I was kind of disappointed. He said he was going to do defensive back drills, but I think this was one of those Jabril Peppers things that the combine didn't let him. I think they're just like, hey, man, you did all your workout. Like, we don't need you to come back and do D-back drills.
Especially when a lot of them are...
They're similar. They're similar on the drills for sure. But, yeah, again, one of the guys I was super excited to see. I was glad he got the invite. He deserved it. Obviously, he showed by his numbers he deserved to be there. I feel like we're going to see a lot more of his hand skills. He said afterwards he's going to go get with his brother and start really hitting a lot of these other drills and show up at his pro day, because UCF's going to have a big pro day with all the guys they have right now. They have Hughes, they have Griffin, they have like 2 wide receivers. 2 wide receivers and a tight end. They have a lot of guys going into this draft.
I don't think I saw a linebacker. Did you?
Shaquem.
Other than him.
No. Other than Shaquem, no. There may have been one guy, but I don't remember if he was defensive line or not. It's one of those guys that I wouldn't necessarily worry about. I don't think he's invited to the combine. I mean, linebackers was a big group, 40 deep. So picking your poison on a lot of these guys. You got any? Go right ahead.
Yeah, one that really stuck out to me was Mike McCray, number 9 from Michigan. A guy that we had a little bit lower in our film studies. One of those guys, kind of like Sam Hubbard. Not necessarily in the play style, but more in the technique. Just heavy in technique, but not necessarily a flashy player. The notes I had for him was he had a good Senior Bowl. He's a traditional outside linebacker. His dad was a Buckeye. Did you know that?
No, I did not. It's interesting. But that's a fun household around that time of year.
Yeah. I thought he looked really good in the bag drill. He looked great in the hip drill. He was a natural catcher. I had another note where it said great hips, and he caught the ball. His feet were all over the place, though, whenever he was going up for the ball. He caught it, but overall I liked the way he could flip his hips, and that's something that I wanted to see from him going into the combine, because I thought he was a little bit too tight.
Yeah, Buck kind of had the positive notes. I had ones in the agility grill. I kind of put that he was a little slow compared to the other guys he was around. On the back pedal, I put that he was a little sloppy and being a little lateral. Some of these guys really struggle on the back pedal drill.
Yeah.
Again, they're not D-backs, but you still have to back pedal into coverage. But other than that, I do agree on your high side notes on him. I liked him. I think he rose his stock a little bit through the combine.
Another guy that I really liked was Josie Jewell, and we'll talk about it in the film study. But just looking back on my combine notes, I thought that he had way better hips than most of the guys that he was competing with. I thought that his feet were all over the place. I would like to see him find the correct spot for them instead of just going all over. And at one point, he overcorrected his hips on a hip flip, and he ended up catching the ball. He looked good on the edge drills, and I would like to see him more on the edge instead of middle linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. That's a valid argument.
Especially with that below 7 3-cone drill, that speaks volume to his ability.
Yeah, and I think, what did he run? Did you have his number? I know I have it. I'm sorry, I'm working through my notes. I keep losing him in between everyone else. He ran a 4.83. So a little bit slower compared to these other linebackers, but again, I didn't expect him to run super fast. Yeah. Watching him play at Iowa, I mean, I watched I watched our teams play him a lot. Yeah. I mean, the dude can stuff a run game pretty well. It was fun to watch him against Wisconsin.
Who is a guy that you think is overhyped?
Ooh, overhyped. I didn't really think of that. That's a good question, my friend. Do you have one? Go right ahead. I'll find the one I like.
And again, I'm a big Ohio State fan. Jerome Baker, I think he's highly overhyped. Mike Mayock was comparing him to Telvin Smith. I thought he had nice hips throughout. A guy that I typically see as having nice hips just because he's got a leaner body, got a little bit more control, especially being a relatively smaller guy. And on here he says, don't watch him against Iowa. That was a bad game. Don't watch him against Iowa. If you want to go ahead and see tape of him, go ahead and watch his other games, especially against Wisconsin. I don't see him as an edge guy. I would like to see him maybe as a safety.
I mean, he could be a hybrid. Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
I think he kind of struggles to make an impact in the pro level.
One guy, it's not necessarily I think he's overhyped. I feel like he underperformed. Are we going to count that in that category?
Go ahead.
Was a seam
overhyped as in all these scouts are really high on him, but we're not really seeing it.
This is more of a guy who I was really high on a year ago and has just disappointed me since then. And then going to the combine kind of confirmed more numbers.
You're cutting ties.
Yeah, well, I still don't know.
I love that look on your face.
I'm not sure. But
that'd smiling, but shaking his head like,
I don't know. It's a seam Victor from Washington. The dude was an absolute monster in 2015, early part of 2016. Got into some trouble. Again, we're going to cover that in film study, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing on him. But him and Biera, both from Washington, these guys are really close. They even have a highlight video together called Brothers. These guys are super close. Asim did play a little bit better in the 40. He ran faster than Biera. I think Biera is 230, and I believe Asim came in at 240. So even though Victor was a little bit heavier, he ran faster. Again, the guys had some trouble on and off the field, but I really was hoping in this draft, whenever he came out, he was going to be a top 6 guy. Now I don't see it.
Yeah.
And for me, he was I loved his tapes back then, man. It's sad how it kind of fell apart with that coaching staff. But this is also a team that kind of put now I just blanked on his name. I think I have it in my tape. But they put a couple other high-noted players on the bench. No, it was Aqib Talib. He left Washington, got kicked out, or decided to leave, transfer, and he went to KU.
Yeah.
So, again, they've had that issues. So, not a big deal.
Going to lose to Seton Hall, though.
So, I mean, again, not a guy who was super hyped coming in, probably staying under the radar. If I really want to go with someone who I think is overhyped, I'll probably have to go.
What about Leighton Vander Esch?
Yeah, that's who I was gonna. Really? That's who I was gonna go with.
I feel like he's clunky for his size.
I feel like he was making himself look super awkward.
Yeah, man. It's great that he's tall.
Frankenstein,
I love it.
Man.
It's really tough to throw over him, and I really hope the Raiders don't pick him up.
Like in some of his notes in the movement drill, I put that he short stepped it. In the hip drill, I put that he seems really timid and not sure what he's doing.
Yeah. He actually guessed in the change of direction drill, and they had to restart it twice for him. Yeah,
the deep lateral drill, he did actually have a good rep on that one. On what was the other one? I had one more. On the bag drill, he did decent. He was smooth, better than I thought. But again, the guy just looked like he was he got in his own head, and he was just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like when I was watching it.
And watching this for about the 5th year in a row, there are some guys that do just perform really, really bad, and you see it a lot with these guys that are trying to guess. I'm not trying to cop out and say, hey, 3 years from now we go back to this podcast. I'm sitting here covering for him. But he may be one of those guys that slips through the cracks that we didn't see everything match up at the combine where he was guessing on drills. It looks like I've got it 1, 2. I've got it twice that he guessed on the drills. 2 different instances.
And that's not good, especially when you're down at number 38. You've seen a lot of guys go before you. You should have that crap down.
Yeah.
And I felt like maybe it was the linebacker group, but there were a lot of guys who were getting restarted.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the linebackers, but there was one group in particular, even they mentioned it, they're like, man, these guys like aren't paying attention because they're telling them what to do and they're not getting it. I think it's partly the cornerbacks too, but that group was huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, a guy who I think raised his stock was O'Daniel from Clemson. Again, you talked about his 3-cone, but I actually really liked his play. He ran a 4.61 on the 40. He came in at 223, so a little bit slimmer than I thought, for especially being a 6-foot flat guy. I thought that was pretty good that he came in a little bit underweight from what he was in college.
I liked his hips.
Again, he comes from Clemson, so you know he knows how to play ball. On most of his drills, I had that he was smooth, fluid in the back pedal. I thought he was one of the best back pedalers out of the linebacking group. And then in the bag drill, I thought he was very smooth in that as well. So, again, I think the other guys kind of fall about where they should be. I don't think anyone raised themselves probably besides Shaq or Shaquem. That's probably the only guy who really raised his draft stock. And if that guy goes below the 4th round, there's going to be an issue somewhere. I think he played himself up to the first 2 days.
Do you have 40s up?
Yeah.
What was Lorenzo Carter's 40?
Lorenzo Carter, he ran a 4.46.
Yeah. He's a guy that's now on my radar. You know, I like this tape. I thought he was a stud. But whenever he ran a 4.46, I was like, this is nuts. Especially being the size of his former teammate, Leonard Floyd. I think he could be a stud. And Leonard Floyd is one of those guys that's really kind of rising through the ranks at the pro level.
Yeah. He's a guy who's going to be a very good linebacker once he gets healthy and puts it all together. I have confidence.
All right, let's move into the D-backs.
That was the stupidest way. They didn't split those guys up, man.
Oh, yeah.
That was the longest freaking group, man.
And we didn't even get to see most of the safeties.
No.
You know, they were cutting 2 commercials
just
to see Run Rich Run.
Yeah.
Which is a great cause, don't get me wrong. But I could see it once, and then I would feel obligated to donate.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a college student.
Well, you saw that Bill Belichick came by and dropped a check off.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how much that check was. I was the only one who was like, tell us what it is.
Really
tell us what it is. Who writes checks? Who writes checks?
Yeah.
No days off.
I'm surprised you didn't have an EFT, man.
He was like, here, let me put it on your phone. Like, kick it out there.
Yo, you got a Venmo?
I wonder what it said on the memo. Good job. All right, going into the D-backs, man. This class was so deep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to even go through all these names. I mean, just so many guys.
Okay, let's start here. Who helped themselves?
Who helped themselves? I would definitely say that I think Holton Hill helped himself. I think Mike Hughes, who's already been kind of helping himself, helped himself.
The kid with the kick return highlight reel that we shared?
Yes. Yeah, he was definitely that guy. Mm-hmm. I would say another one, Duke Dawson. I felt like he helped his draft stock. I felt like he played pretty well. Liked his tape. DJ Reed from K-State really improved. He showed that he actually can catch a ball. And Nick Nelson, he showed that he can catch a ball. Yeah. Those 2 guys, that was the big question. Nick Nelson had so many pass breakups, like barely any picks or no picks.
Yeah.
And he actually showed he can go out there and catch the ball. So I think he helped himself being like, hey, he can actually catch. So,
yeah, side note, I really liked how Tony Brown, the kid that was a track guy, and his sisters were on the track team. I thought he did really well throughout the whole combine. There was one point where he was guessing, and the thing I really liked about this guy was he had swagger to cut off his shirt and show his abs.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
Yeah, they were talking about that.
I thought Jair Alexander did really well, too. He had good ball skills, competing for it.
Yeah, better than what he was on tape. I feel like his combine looked better. Another guy that I really wanted to see, I was hoping he'd get down in the 4.2 area, was Dante Jackson, he ran a 4.32.
Yeah.
So a little disappointing, but again, the guy's a speedster. He's going to be a real key on special teams. I really like him.
Yeah. He did not outrun John Ross.
No, he did not. But he ran one of the lower 40 times, so there you go.
Yo, that second 40, he cramped up like right at the end.
Yeah,
You think he knew he didn't hit it?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it could be either way. I don't know. I'm not in his head. I think another guy who I thought played really well for his size was Devontae Maddox. I'm sorry. This was a guy who Buck wasn't super high on in the East-West Shrine game. I liked him. I thought he played well. I feel like he's raised his stock up a lot more, at least in my book. I thought he had a good 40 time. He ran a 4.40. I thought he came in really clean. Looking at the bench on some of these guys, let me pull it up.
real quick on Maddox. I had that he had a bad hip turn. He had an okay hip turn. He couldn't get the ball in the open field drill. And then from there on out, he was stellar.
Yeah. MJ Stewart was the guy, North Carolina, who put up the most reps on the bench. I don't think it's necessarily as relevant on cornerbacks, but it's a nice side note.
I mean, it helps with press.
Yeah, it really does. Taron Johnson from Weber State and Michael Johnson from Dubuque, two small school guys, put up 17s. So, again, pretty nice. Fasom from Virginia Tech, I think it's Fasom, that's how it's pronounced. He put up 16. So, again, the rest of the guys kind of fell kind of where we thought. Make sure I didn't miss nobody. My mouse is not wanting to work with me. But surprised you didn't bring up your boy. Josh Jackson also put up 18. I do apologize.
You know.
I lied. Mike Hughes had 20. I forgot I even wrote that.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks.
Who's my boy, Paul?
Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward.
What'd you think about his hip turns and everything else?
Well, he ran a fast 40, 4.32. Kid was a blazer. On his notes. Sorry if you hear a lot of page flipping. I had a lot of notes that I had written down, so I got to go through a lot. Hey, man, I like sitting there and just writing notes out. Just writing them. I feel like I get more out of it. All right, for Denzel Ward. Again, this is a guy who I wish he would have been up by Josh Jackson. So your point earlier, I think, would be well placed with these two guys. On his stuff that was actually on TV, not during a freaking commercial break, I thought he was very fluid in his hips. I thought he was able to look a little bit better on the gauntlet drill. I felt like he was a little bit slow going. No, that was Ward. Sorry, wrong guy. I thought on the gauntlet drill he actually played well. I thought he went through and caught the balls. I don't know about the gauntlet drill on D-backs. It's okay, I guess. Yeah. I mean, the only funny part was that dude who got banked in the head. That was the hilarious part of this whole drill. But other than that, I mean, I thought he played up there with the top cornerback like he's going to be. So I feel like he may have played – Josh Jackson may have played down a little bit to give Ward the advantage at number one.
Yeah, and whenever if I'm thinking about building a team in the NFL, then I'm looking for actually both of these guys because I like to pair them on opposite sides of each other. I think stylistically it makes it tough for the quarterback to go ahead and try them. You got Denzel Ward, who's a shutdown corner, and you're going to stop throwing his way. Once you stop throwing his way, you're going to throw Josh Jackson's way. And whenever you do that, you're just begging to be picked off, and he will pick it. You know, and that's why I like the comparison or having both of these people stylistically on opposite sides of each other.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail perfectly on that one.
What about you? Would you rather have two shutdown guys that the quarterback throws over the middle and test your linebackers?
Depends on what linebackers I have, but yeah. I mean, I like that where you have to throw at someone, and if the guy has sneaky hands, you're gonna get some picks. Yeah, especially I like that more as a value of a rookie in Josh Jackson that he can really. I mean, because sometimes a shutdown corner doesn't get you necessarily very many points in fantasy, where a rookie who has hands can get you that pick bonus.
Yeah,
it's kind of like when you're going to gamble and you play that one little extra 5 in the little circle, you get a little bonus. You know, if you hit it. So I like that more in a rookie. But Denzel Ward, I think, may play special teams if he's not a legitimate number 1 or number 2 starter on a team, depending on where he goes.
So would you say Denzel Ward, his numbers could be similar to Marshawn Lattimore's?
Yeah.
And that would be an easy comp?
Yeah, I think it could be. Yeah.
Okay, what
It'd be hard for me to root for two Ohio State guys back to back. Back to back rookie years being shut down, guys.
What about Joshua Jackson? If you have, again,
I'm
10 rounds.
putting it out there now. He's going to have the most picks as a rookie. I'm just going to throw it out. I don't care. I'll throw it out.
I don't think anybody would fight you on that one, honestly.
Well, usually some guy comes out of nowhere.
True.
And gets balls, you know.
Okay, you have 10 rounds. You have a pick each round. And what round are you going to be picking a cornerback like Joshua Jackson for your IDP team? So let's say your needs are consistent.
Having my needs, I'm consistently needing cornerbacks because I usually don't use them that much. I'm trying to. For me, I probably go 4th or 5th.
Okay.
Probably
Do you
4th.
think he's still going to be there?
It depends on the draft, man.
I would pay a 3rd for him.
Yeah. I'd probably take Ward in a 3rd.
I would take him. You would take Ward at 3rd?
In the 3rd round, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would take Josh Jackson probably late 2nd, early 3rd.
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on your needs, you know. Some guys, they really need offense then.
I feel like...
Especially in our league because we have a lot of trades that have picks going where, whatnot. I don't even remember what picks I have anymore.
Yeah.
So that's how I've gone.
I feel like a corner that can intercept the ball in a big play format, especially, it makes it really nice to have them at a premium value, you know, because it's tough to get, and especially with these rookies and how we value rookie cornerbacks over these tenured guys like Richard Sherman.
Now, if you're talking Dante Jackson, I'd pay as low 2nd for him. Bro, special teams ability, man. Special teams ability, I'll take that all day.
That's if you have return premium.
Yeah. Special team ability, man. I think the kid's fast and he's going to prove it in the NFL.
Yeah. All right, what about safeties? Anybody you really
Man,
like? I know you like Troy Apke. You sent me a text about it. You're like, dude, this guy.
I just asked what he thought about him because I was just trying to start conversation, but everything's old news, so I can't really go any on it. I like him, man. I don't know why he's still ranked as a 6th rounder free agent. There's no way he goes as a free agent after what he did on Sunday and what he did in the NFLPA game. He was the MVP of that game.
Yeah.
You know, that needs to be noted in there. The dude ran a 4.34 as a freaking safety. I love that.
I think Al Davis jumped out of his grave. He was like, what?
Came up and cut that hairline on his son a little bit farther back. I love him, man. I see a lot of Weddle in the way he can tackle in the box. I think he's a good box tackler. And I don't know, I keep comparing him to white guys, but I'm not trying to. But Harrison Smith, he has a little bit of that in there too. I think he has some of that nasty streak. The only thing is he probably doesn't have as much hands. But we're going to talk about him in our safeties. And I really do like him. I think he's ranked really low, and I think he should probably go in the NFL draft, probably 3rd round. I think he's a value pick. You know, especially I watch a team that's really dependent on safety tackles. And obviously he has the speed to play as a special teamer, punt returner.
Yeah, a guy that I was pretty high on going into the combine was Ronnie Harrison. You know, I expected him to do a lot, but he ended up having sore hamstrings and he was held out.
Yeah. Another one that I really like is Goodwin Abakwe.
Real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
A guy that you're high on, and then he ends up having sore hamstrings and sits out the rest of the drills. What are your thoughts on that? Does he lose stock, or does he stay right where he's at?
I have to watch the pro day. Like that makes it. Yeah. That makes me have to watch the pro day.
And how do you do that? Do you put notes in there that you're like, hey, I want to watch his pro day before I can really evaluate him?
Yeah, or I make side notes because I make a little list of guys that I want to go find their pro days and we'll try to watch them or at least try to get tape on them. Yeah. You know, there's several teams this year that are going to have big ones, kind of like we talked about a little while ago, and guys I'm going to want to go watch. But again, Goodwin Abakwe from Northwestern. Dude's 5'11", 213. He ran a 4.45. I really like his tape, and we're going to get into it when we get into safeties on our next podcast. But I really like him. I thought he played very well at Northwestern. He was one of the defensive playmakers on that team. Again, I saw him play against Wisconsin, so I can tell you personally like what that kid can do. Again, really good safety. I think he can play down and hit like a linebacker. Another guy who impressed me, was probably, there's so many names, I try to mark them all, was Dane Cruikshank from Arizona. Guy's originally listed as a cornerback, but he's actually more of a safety. He kind of played everything. He played shutdown corner for a year and a half at Arizona, and then he went on and kind of played a safety cornerback hybrid for the most part. It's kind of how Arizona's defense is set up. And then he went to safety. I think the kid's really good. I think he could have a lot of upside. And the coaches have loved him. The coaches at Arizona absolutely love this kid. And they go to bat for him on everything. So obviously he's a really, really good kid with head on his shoulders. Watched a couple of interviews. The kid seemed like he has a lot of football IQ. And I feel like for safeties, that's what you have to have is that football IQ. So he's one guy who I'm definitely looking forward to. But give me your thoughts on Derwin James.
Derwin James. Let's go to the notes. He stumbled twice in the 40. I liked his hips. He kept guessing a lot. Again, one of those guys that we talk about who we may look back and we may see that, hey, he was just anxious more than anything. He had a wild overcorrect in his hips, though, and I didn't like that little chink in his gait.
Yeah, I could
Is
definitely.
that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I could definitely agree with you on that one. He didn't run a second 40 unless I missed it. I didn't catch his second 40, so I think he just ran one. But again, he's projected to be, the number 2 overall safety?
He did. He stumbled both times.
Okay.
And it was right out of the gates.
Didn't he was the one who did the rolling start, right?
Yeah.
He kind of did the roll and then went into it. I think he stopped him like 3 times.
Yeah.
Someone got mad. I can't remember if it was him or it was someone else, but they got mad because he kept rolling, and so he kept stopping him. Yeah. I don't know if it was him or not. I think it was someone else.
Mike Mayock.
Huh?
Mayock was getting mad because they kept stopping him.
Oh, okay.
He said no. That was a good start.
He's like, "Come on, man." He's like, "I'm ready to run."
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the last on the safety group is Cameron Kelly and Syrian Neal. These are 2 small school guys. I like both these guys. I would give the edge to Neal, but Cameron Kelly has some crazy numbers from college.
Yeah.
The dude can tackle. He's a machine at tackling. And he played cornerback for quite a while, too. I think he's really good on bubble screens. He's one of the better bubble screen runners or defenders I've seen. The thing on Neal is he used to play linebacker and he played in the nickel role. So the guy's played all over that defensive backfield. So again, you're looking for a guy who has IQ. There you go. There's a guy who can play it. And I think you like Neal as well, correct?
Yeah.
What'd you like about him? Yep isn't going to cover it.
Let me pull it back up. I was going to go to my safety notes on Kelly because once you mentioned him, I didn't think much of him. Other than that, he liked to blow up bubble screens, and he got...
I think Cameron Kelly we actually have listed as a cornerback, I believe. He's one of those tweeners, so let me double-check while you're pulling up your notes.
For Saran, I had that he had good hips. At one point, he kind of tripped, but other than that, I liked his notes. I thought he looked good on the reaction to the ball and his ability to move whenever he told his body to move. I'm going to go ahead and look for Cameron Kelly in the safety notes, though.
He's actually in our cornerback list.
Is he?
But he is going to probably be a safety because he's played both. I think I told you that a couple of podcasts. I think in the cornerback one.
An interesting note about Saran Neal, he played cornerback, safety, and linebacker, as well as special teams, nickel.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about him. He's got
well-rounded. Yeah, for Cameron Kelly, we had him in our cornerback. We had him at number 17 or 16 on our cornerback list.
Oh, San Diego State kid.
Yeah.
Did we have him over Oliver? That's another kid that... No, we had Oliver.
Oliver's way higher. But yeah,
I feel like Oliver's kind of overrated.
You think he's one of those guys who's overrated?
Like, I see what they like about him, but I think, honestly, they're just going off the length.
Yeah. I think he's one of those guys who goes up and plays the ball pretty well, though. I think he gets up in phase. Yeah, he did. He was one of those guys who was kind of sneaky on the 40. They didn't really talk about him that much, surprisingly. But yeah, for Cameron Kelly, he played safety, but he's listed as a cornerback. I think he's going to be a safety in the NFL. I think that's his natural position. He's pretty good in press man. He burned on the vertical range. His speed. I think he could be one of those small school steel guys. You know, you see him every year. I really liked his Senior Bowl. He's one of those guys who stood out to me. Plus, I like their helmets. They're pretty cool.
William Jackson, a cornerback 2 years ago, ended up getting hurt. Increased his stock like crazy. Got drafted in the first round by the Cincinnati Bengals. Maybe a tip of the cap to the Adam Jones drop.
Yeah.
kid's going to be a stud.
Yeah.
You know, and again, we always talk about these small school guys.
Buck's really good about hitting these guys too. You know, I'm trying to get on his level about finding some of these gyms. Buck is pretty good at it. I think you even put out a tweet about Sirian Neal, didn't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, those two guys played right behind each other, so it was kind of nice to see them play back to back. Kind of judge the small school to small schools.
Other than that, I really don't have much for the rest of this podcast.
Yeah, the only other note I had was that the cornerback group, it was kind of wordy that there wasn't a lot of excitement. It felt like later on in those drills, because the group was so big, they're all kind of losing their luster.
Yeah.
And they weren't getting energized. And there was no one stepping up to be like, hey, man, let's go. You know, because that's what Shaquem Griffin brings to the table. He's he's a rah-rah guy. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a knock. That's a plus.
Yeah.
You know, a guy who can get guys motivated around him.
I'm going to keep this one to myself. All right, Paul, go ahead and close this out.
All right. Again, we're going to be coming out with the safeties here soon. If you want to check out any of our stuff, go to idpfantasyempire.com. Again, sign up, only $4.99 for the whole year. You're going to be getting the draft kit, which we're putting all this stuff into. You're going to be getting a lot of stuff in this. Again, we have some writers that have come up. We're still getting articles from them, posting them up. These kids are hungry, man. Love to see it. So as always, start building your empire today.